Hi everyone, today I'm going to be talking about why I don't rate books when I review them on my channel. I do a lot of reviews in general, and you guys might have noticed if you've watched them that I never give star ratings in any of my videos. I think I did a video last summer talking about my approach to reviewing books, but that was a little while ago, and I watched a really great video by Book Binge this past week. I'll link to it down in the description, which really got me thinking again about reviewing, and it just made me feel like talking again with you guys about my approach to reviewing and why I've decided not to use ratings on my channel. I think the decision to use ratings or not to use ratings is really personal and kind of depends on the creator. There are people who I really enjoy watching who do use star ratings or other rating systems that they've come up with when they review books, and I think that can be really helpful. It's just been my personal decision to not ever use numbers or stars on my channel when I review books, and I want to talk about why a little bit. I do a lot of reviews on my channel in general, and I think I kind of have two goals when I review books. The first goal, and probably the most important goal in my opinion, is I'm trying to give you guys an idea of whether it's a book you would be interested in picking up. I think that's the reason a lot of people watch reviews. They're looking for new things to read, and of course that's one of the great things about Booktube, right? We're all looking for things to add to our TBRs, even though our TBRs are all way too long already. So when I review, I'm trying to talk about the things that I hope will help people decide whether to pick up the book or not. Honestly, one of the things I forget to do the most often is to talk about the synopsis and actually what's in the book in my review. Sometimes I'll jump straight into talking about how I felt about it, what I felt like the themes were, what it was like, and those are things I really like to talk about in reviews, but I'm trying to get better at remembering to do like a good, concise synopsis of what the book is about earlier on in the review. So if that's something that you guys have noticed in my reviews, I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better at summarizing books concisely. I feel like that's actually something I'm pretty bad at. I'm kind of a rambly person, and I'm also the kind of person that I need to talk about things to really consolidate my thoughts, which is probably why I like doing reviews. I would probably be the world's worst at doing elevator pitches because I just can't figure out how to sum up books in a couple of sentences. But in general, when I do a review of a book, I'm trying to give you guys an idea of whether it's the kind of book that you would like. So I guess some of the things I'm trying to talk about when I review a book are usually, is it more of a plot-driven or character-driven story? What's the overall feel of it? What is the world of the book like? What kind of narrative is it? What are the characters like? What are the themes? What kind of reader might enjoy it? I don't think I'm perfect at analyzing those things. I'm just trying to, with my own perspective, talk about what I think the book is like and who might enjoy it. Because of that, I generally try to do spoiler-free reviews, although that gets harder and harder when I'm talking about books that are later on in a series, and usually in that case, I'll do spoiler-free and then spoiler sections. I think a lot of people also watch reviews to see what other people think of books that they've liked, and so I think my reviews are geared towards that a little bit, but I think my reviews are probably more geared towards people who haven't necessarily read the books. I don't know, it's kind of a mix. It's hard to talk about what I think my own review style is because we're not always the best at analyzing ourselves, but I think in general I tend to be a little more removed and intellectual, like a little bit cold even towards books that I really, really love. It's hard for me to get into a place of gushing about things. That's just not really the kind of person that I am. So I love a lot of people that I watch who are just really great at expressing their love and enthusiasm, and their joy is just contagious about books. And I wish sometimes that I was like that, but I feel like I'm just not the greatest at being like that. So instead I share the way that I connect to things, which is a little bit more intellectual, even though I do have emotions and feelings about it. So I think my secondary goal in reviewing books, other than trying to give people a sense of whether they'd like to pick up that book, is just to get my own thoughts out there, to share what it is that I saw in the book. Sometimes books make me think of things and I make connections, and it's just, this is more my creative outlet for sharing what it is that I saw in the book, and that's probably the most personal part of the review. And I think it's probably something that some people really enjoy in my reviews, and some people might just be totally bored by, and I'm not offended either way. It's okay if you don't like all of my associations and overly analytical thoughts and things like that. I think I also end up dissecting stories a fair bit, especially, from the point of view of what I would do if I were the writer or the editor, even though I am neither a writer nor an editor. But actually my mom is a writer and an editor, and I think I just kind of grew up approaching books from that kind of intellectual mindset. I'm being super open with you guys here. What I fight against when I'm filming videos is I think I have this tendency to be a little bit lectury and professorial in my personality when I get on camera, and that's because, I do have situations in life where I am talking to a larger audience, or I am giving classes or lectures. I do teach, so even though I'm a musician. So yeah, that's sort of a side of my personality. I don't necessarily want to be like that on camera. I want to be myself. I want to be more comfortable and open. But I've been doing this for, well, not a year yet, but I've been doing this for a while, and it's a work in progress. But I really appreciate those of you that have been watching my videos and my reviews, and those of you that enjoy my channel. So in terms of why I don't give star ratings to books that I review on my channel, I think it's because I don't feel like that would really serve either of the purposes that I've talked about for why I review books. I don't really think that my star ratings would help people decide whether to pick it up or not, and I don't really think it would help me express my thoughts and feelings about the book. Honestly, I feel like I have a really hard time being consistent with things like ratings. Books are so different from each other. I feel like it's really hard to standardize it to any kind of system. And I do think there are probably people who are better at doing that than I am, but I just don't trust myself to do it. So I just don't want to commit to giving a book 3 stars or 4 stars or 5 stars in a video review. I feel like it's not that important for me, and I'm hoping that if you watch my reviews, you'll get a sense from the review itself of whether the book is one you'd be interested in. And I feel like maybe if you watch enough of my reviews, you'll have more of a sense of whether my taste lines up with yours. But whether your taste does match mine or it doesn't, I feel like giving stars just really wouldn't help get that across. And I know there are people who I love watching that I just have very different opinions than them, so I don't think you have to just watch people you agree with either. I also feel like I love when I do a review of a book that I didn't care for very much and someone says, wow, this sounds like exactly the kind of thing I'd be into. So, in that case, I feel like it's good because I was honest and I also helped promote a book that maybe somebody else will really love. Another reason I don't want to give star ratings in videos is because I actually do use star ratings on Goodreads because it makes me, and I also have a personal spreadsheet that I use to just track statistics and reading because I really like statistics. And so I use different ratings on both of those things, but in general, I am just really picky. And I think I'm probably, I don't know, I don't want to give it a percentage, but I think I'm probably in the top level of pickiness in terms of how rarely I give 5 stars to a book. I have maybe 3 or 4 5-star books in a year at most, and last year I read like in the 90s of books, so to me a 5-star book is a book that I'm expecting to remember for the rest of my life. It's a book that as soon as I finish it, I need to pick it up and read it again. It's a book that really made a huge impact on me. It's not just a book I really, really enjoyed and thought was great. For me, a book like that would be a 4-star book. I also sometimes give 4 stars to books that I thought were really, truly excellent books, but that I just didn't have that level of love and connection to for whatever reason. So as an example of a 4-star book for me, A Memory Called Empire, which was the Hugo Award winner last year and which is a book I loved. I gave that 4 stars when I first read it because I thought it was really great, really well written, really interesting, but I just didn't have a super intense connection to it. It's kind of like chemistry. It's like a relationship. Sometimes you meet somebody that's really great, handsome, kind, but for whatever reason, you're just not into that person as much. It's not true love. So for me, a 5-star book is true love, I guess. So with A Memory Called Empire, I reread it and I liked it even more. Honestly, I loved it. I might bump it up to 5 stars, but it's still kind of stubbornly stuck around 4.5 because I just connected to the ideas in it a lot, but I just didn't connect to the characters as deeply as I would want to. And even as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, honestly, it probably was a 5-star book, but I am just so grudging with that I just so rarely give it out. But a lot of people give 5 stars to any book that they loved, so they might have a couple in a month. For me, most of what I read ends up being 3 stars, and for some people, 3 stars is kind of a low rating, like average, they would just as well have not read it. And for me, a 3-star book is a book that I enjoyed it. It just wasn't special to me. But I read a lot. I don't expect every book to be special. But if I went through and gave all these books that I read 3 stars, I feel like that would give people the wrong impression. On the other hand, I feel like sometimes my reviews end up accidentally being deceptive just because of what I end up focusing on. Like sometimes I feel like I end up focusing on a problem or a negative in a book that I overall really, really enjoyed, because I do try to talk about both positives and negatives in every book. I don't claim to be objective. I don't think it's possible. I don't think any reviewer is really objective, but I like to be critical, which is different than being objective. I like to think critically about what I'm reading. So even if I totally loved a book, I might try to bring up things that either I thought were problematic or things that I didn't mind, but I could see that somebody else might have a problem with them. But sometimes if that thing is interesting, I might end up spending way too much percentage-wise of a review of a book I love talking about something that either I didn't like so much or I'm worried that somebody else might not like about it. And then there are other times where I feel like even if a book is only okay for me, but it was interesting and I decided to review it, I'll end up talking for a really, really long time about things I think the author did well. And so if you're just watching that review, you might think, wow, she really loved that. But if I had rated it, I probably would have rated it 3 stars. So this is a case where I feel like actually using stars could be helpful to my reviews, because I feel like sometimes I give maybe the wrong impression about what I thought about a book. But that's something, I'm trying to work on that. And I think I usually do say what I think pretty clearly. It's just that what I then end up focusing on might be something else. I don't know, let me know what you guys think. In general, I only review books that I feel like I have something to say on. It doesn't have to be a book that I loved. It could be a book that I would have rated as a 3-star book, but I find it interesting in some aspect or just overall. There are books that I liked or thought were okay, but I just don't think I have even 10 minutes of stuff to say about the book, and that's usually when I save it for wrap-ups. And I guess there are times where I don't like a book where I could probably say more than 10 minutes about it, but I just don't feel that interested in spending that time thinking about the book. So it's not that I don't ever do negative reviews. Like everyone else, sometimes I have the urge to rant, but I try to focus on the things that I find interesting, and to me it's just less likely that a book that I just didn't like will interest me enough that I want to do a 10 or 15 minute review on it. I've definitely had some people tell me they like the fact that I don't rate books. I've never had anyone complain that I don't give star ratings. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think I'm ever going to do ratings in videos, but I will link my Goodreads down below. I pretty much just use this to log my reading, and I try to keep it up to date, but I'm not super active on Goodreads. In fact, I'm super behind in putting any links to my video reviews or any other thoughts on there. If for some reason you're curious about how far I am in a book or what I'm reading on a certain day, then feel free to follow me. I don't mind, it's out there. You can also see on there what I've rated books that I've read recently. Full disclosure, every now and then I'll be on Goodreads and I'll see something I rated and I'll just change my rating based on how I'm feeling at the moment. So it's a very flexible thing. That's probably another reason why I don't rate books in my video reviews, because I am really indecisive and I just don't want to commit. The only time I really force myself to review books is when I'm doing it for a specific project, like my Hugo Awards reading project, where I reviewed every book that was a finalist for the Hugo Award for Best Novel, and then every book that was a finalist for the Hugo Award for Best Series. So with that, there were books that I didn't enjoy that much that I probably wouldn't have chosen to do a dedicated review for if it hadn't been part of an overall project, but that's something else. That's something I was doing because I really wanted to. And there were still 2 books that I DNF'd that were part of that list anyway, so I'm not good at forcing myself to do things. Well, I am good at forcing myself to do things. I'm a classical musician, but this is my hobby, so I don't want to force myself to do things for this. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this wasn't too much of a ramble. I just wanted to do more of a video where I discussed something and shared my thoughts, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys think as well.